Hello everyone and welcome to today's Q&A. I'm Dr. Janine, nice to see you. Please say hello and where you're from, and please start typing your questions based on yesterday's show into the comment section. Please say hello. Great to have you all here. And yeah, so yesterday we talked about a bunch of new things. So we talked about sunburn remedies and what you can do naturally, of course, if you find yourself in this situation where you've gotten a little bit too much sun, as well as how to prevent that sunburn in the first place, which is so important. Because we all know now that we need to get more natural sunlight exposure, especially right now, this time of year. The sun will be going away and we won't be able to be making as much of that melanin in the skin as soon as the sun is below 30 degrees in the sky, which of course with our seasons, depending on where you live, this is going to be a little bit of a problem going into our winter. Now, this is important to be able to also identify, and this is something that we talked about yesterday, some of the toxic things to be looking for. So we talked about fake detoxes. There's a lot of detoxes out there in the marketplace, and we talked about some of those compromising ingredients that can be really problematic because they themselves are toxic. So imagine that you're trying to do a detox and you're trying to help yourself and detoxify your organs, and you are also at the same time ingesting these compromising ingredients. So we did talk about that. If you have questions about that, or if you want me to review any of those, then please let me know and I can go through all the things that you need to look for. Nice to see you. Thank you for tuning in New Zealand. Ruby Khan, thank you for tuning in. S9U8L, hello, nice to see you. Is it Sil Moshella in Italy is here. Thank you for tuning in. Great to have you here. And Bestness is here from California. Hello, hello. I hope it's a beautiful day there and everywhere as well. Rhonda, New Jersey, great to see you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Rhonda has questions about skinny fat at 50 years old. Weight training, it's something that we talked a lot about actually last week. And I shared, so if you missed last week's episode, please check that out, because that is where I actually talked about a study, especially for women and finding the difference between, being able to burn that extra fat off, building muscle mass, and what was better, resistance training versus, of course, the cardio. And it was actually a combination of both resistance weight training and cardio that had the best beneficial effects. And this is really important after the age of, I'm going to say 43, around perimenopause. That's usually where it starts for most women. And going into the 50s, you definitely need to be building muscle mass. You're losing a lot of muscle mass every single year if you're not actively doing something to help to build that muscle mass. Okay, great question. Thank you for the compliments on the studio, the set. Yes, that is thanks to our friends, our sponsor, Vitatree Nutritionals. We thank them so much for sponsoring the show and for giving me this beautiful environment to be able to share natural health information with all of you. Now, yesterday we did, of course, have our quiz question, so I hope you were in on the game yesterday. And it's awesome to have you all here. Okay, so Jennifer is here. Thank you from North Carolina. Thank you for tuning in today. And okay, Sassadar is asking, what is today's topic? Well, actually in yesterday's show, we talked about our gut microbiome, and there is a specific, and I promised I would spell it out, there's a specific organism, a bacteria that lives in the gut. Let's go on over here so I can spell it out for you. And it is kind of like a probiotic in which it is healthy for your gut flora. And of course, when we don't have enough of the good gut flora, the good guys, and the one that I talked about was the Akkermansia, and I'm going to spell that out for you so you can, look and learn more about it. But having enough of the good guys, or good healthy flora, our probiotics, they actually help for us to properly digest our food. But the Akkermansia is actually really interesting because you end up, when you have enough Akkermansia, which is a good thing, you actually extract less calories from your food. So what does that mean? That means that you are not, it's kind of like fiber, if you think of it that way. You're not necessarily absorbing those extra calories, and that is adding to your weight gain. So you can actually lose weight just by having enough of that probiotic, and I will spell it out for you. As well as that healthy microbiome, we want to make sure that we don't have this situation going on. And I talk a lot about this in my social media in terms of leaky gut syndrome. So if you've got a lot of these less favorable organisms. So it's the parasites, it's the candida. Come on over here, I'm going to show you, and this is what we talked about yesterday. What's happening is with leaky gut, we've got now, instead of those tight junctions being nice and close together, so in your gut cells, they should be bound by those tight junctions, meaning that there's no passageway for things to get through. So here you can see we have our healthy mucus layer, which is something that we definitely want to have. So that mucus layer, and that's one of the things that Akkermansia, which helps with that weight loss, helps to maintain that mucus layer, as well as you can see the tight junctions are nice and close together in the gut. So anybody who has leaky gut, how do you know? Well, maybe you have an autoimmune condition. So this could be a thyroid issue, Hashimoto's, Graves' disease. It could be related to lupus, MS, so any Sjogren's syndrome, any type of autoimmune condition usually starts here as part of the entire process of going down that road of autoimmunity. So this is really important. As much as, your doctor may have never told you this link, but to really heal these diseases, we've got to get back at the root cause. And that's what I'm all about, educating about how to do that. So with your leaky gut, now what's happening, you can see that those tight junctions are broken. They've opened up, and then that is allowing for that space for our toxins to come through, for those bad bacteria to come through, for the viruses to come through. They get into the bloodstream, leaky gut syndrome, and then your immune system is working at this level and saying, hey, you're not supposed to be in the blood. You're a foreign invader, and this is where your body starts attacking itself. So this is why it's so important to clean up the gut. Yes, absolutely. And making sure that we have enough of that Akkermansias. And I gave you some tips as to how to actually feed that good bacteria. Let me spell it for you really quickly. So, and you can do more reading on this. I wonder what screen I should write it on. Do we have another screen that I have a bit of space? Yes. Okay. Should I go high? Yeah, I'll go up high. All right. So, there we go. That's the name of the bacteria and the second word of it is muciniphila. Muciniphila. Okay, so that is the good bacteria that we want to have in the gut. It actually helps you to lose weight. And they actually did some studies, and they found, comparing the gut microbiomes of people that were of healthy body weight versus ones that were overweight. And the ones that were overweight had much less of that Akkermansia, so they tended to have more body fat. So isn't that interesting? Okay, so how do we feed that Akkermansia? If you were here yesterday, yes, I'm sure you took some notes on this. How do we feed that Akkermansia? Well, it's one of the things that we can do, of course, is to have red-skinned apples. So red apples and eating the skin is so important because, and I don't know if we can pull up the list really quickly for weight loss, some of the tips that we talked about were red fruits. So those polyphenols are really important at being able to help with feeding that Akkermansia. So whether that's the red apples, red fruits, whatever is growing and is local to you, of course, is going to be important. Probiotics as well. Eating a clean diet, as we know, and following Mother Nature's prescription. Now, if you don't know what that is grounding, that is natural sunlight exposure, that is seeing the sunrise, that is good sleep, of course, as well. And being in tune with your circadian rhythms, your circadian biology has to be in tune with your internal world, with your external world, which is so important. All right, thank you. Thanks for tuning in. And it's great to have you all here. Blue-green algae, love blue-green algae. One of my favorites is chlorella. I also like Hawaiian spirulina. That just has to come from a pure source because by their nature, the chlorella, they actually trap things like heavy metal toxins. So you have to be aware of the source where you're getting these from, and always from a reputable company if you're taking them as a supplement. Also awesome. Okay, Mary Moore is asking how to block EMFs from neighborhood modems and Wi-Fi. It's difficult. I mean, it's difficult to be, it's all about distance though. So if it's in your home, your Wi-Fi router is in your home, the closer you are to it, the worse it's going to be for your health, obviously. Now, you can't necessarily control what's happening in your neighbors, but if it is really bad, then there are companies that you can actually hire, and they do mitigation things so they can hang special drapes, but you have to hire a professional. It can be very expensive. So One of the great things to maybe not block it, but to counteract it is to do your grounding every day and to maybe sleep grounded as well. So, you know, those grounding mats that you can put on the beds, I love them, and you have an amazing sleep when you have them. You just have to be sure what you plug them into is a good and steady ground that you're plugging into, which is so important. Okay, so those are great questions. Thank you for tuning in today, Steffi. It's nice to have you here. Okay, if you have SIBO and people that are sensitive to probiotics, depends on the type of probiotic, and just because you react to taking a probiotic doesn't mean that you're sensitive to them. It means that it's actually maybe doing some work to clear up that dysbiosis. So that's a great question, because a lot of people, when you first take a probiotic, and maybe it's not, first, number one, maybe not the right probiotic for you. Maybe it's got some magnesium stearate in there, which is that flow agent, which I don't agree with. Maybe it's not a human microflora. Maybe it's the wrong strains. I mean, there's so many different aspects as to taking a probiotic, and maybe it's not going to be the right one for you. But finding a good quality probiotic, if you notice a bit of stomach upset when you first take it, it could be an indication that it's starting to crowd out some of the bad guys. That's why often in my protocols, when I'm talking about cleaning up the leaky gut and dealing with candida, parasites, intestinal worms, even if you've been tested for them and your tests come back negative, oh no, the doctor says I don't find anything on your stool sample, there's nothing there. A lot of times there still is absolutely something there, and more intensive and expensive testing is going to indicate that there's some, you know, cross reactivity in your bloodstream to some of those less favorable organisms, so that it's the parasites, the candida. So that's why I always start with cleaning up that gut ecology, that dysbiosis. I always start with killing the bad guys first. That's just the protocol that I've developed over years of practice with my patients, and that's where I've always had the most success. So you do a certain protocol of starting with killing off the parasites for 2 weeks, then you're going to take a 2-week break, and because they have a life cycle, so you want to be making sure that you're getting them through their life cycle, and the babies and the eggs and the larvae and all that nastiness in the gut. And the probiotics are part of that process. So as you're killing, you're putting the good guys back in with your probiotics. Really, really important. So that's where with SIBO, I do believe I do have some protocols on SIBO. If you can't find it on social media, you can always send an email as well. Or put it in the comments so that we can be able to reach back out to you. Thank you so much. It's great to have you all here. I don't know if you are able to put your questions down in the comments section. I hope everybody is good today and having a great day. Okay, so Dark Angel, nice handle name. How do you do what herbs and how do we take them? Okay, so let's take a look really quickly at some of my favorite herbal medicines. I don't know if we have that. We may not have it today that I can show you really quickly. My favorite herbal medicines. The best ones to kill those bad bugs, I call CABO. Okay, so CABO, it's an acronym for, does everybody know? Does everybody know CABO? You can put it in. Oh, we do have it. Okay, awesome. All right, here we go. So cloves helps to kill the eggs of those parasites as well. These are all in one formulation. My team hopefully can help to answer if you're looking for something very specific. So cloves, Artemisia. So cloves help to kill the eggs, but the adult worms as well. The Artemisia is known to kill malaria, also great at killing intestinal bugs, parasites, candida. Black walnut, again, for the candida, for parasites as well, and dislodges parasites from the intestinal walls, so that's important. And the oregano, so not oregano oil, but you see the whole plant here. That oregano, the full plant, not the oil. So anybody who's ever taken, and if you know somebody who does this, you take the oregano oils by mouth, not a great idea. It's super concentrated, and it can be a little bit harsh on your esophagus. But the other thing is that it's harsh if it's not emulsified. It can be really hard on your liver health. So I don't recommend that. I always recommend, if you are taking oregano, that it's the whole plant. So it's a standardized extract of the actual whole plant, and you take that together. When you do, okay, Mary Moore, love your questions. Yeah, so when you are doing and killing off the bad guys. Are you killing the probiotics? No, that's the nature of doing it naturally and conventionally. Unfortunately, you kill a lot of your good guys, your probiotics. When you're killing off the bad guys, those parasites, and doing it in a natural way, you're not killing off the probiotics. If you're doing the right protocol, I can only speak for, certain protocols that I've worked with my patients and had the best success with. Thank you so much for tuning in. Great to see you, Al Wahid from India. Great to have you here. Thank you so much. Garlic, the last man standing, also love garlic. Great. You got to eat garlic. It helps to kill off those intestinal worms and parasites as well. And where do people live and what do you eat when you get parasites in your intestines? You can live anywhere in the world to get parasites. You don't need to travel to pick up parasites. They're everywhere, and depending on what your terrain is, what your microbiome is doing, how healthy your immune system is, how much stomach acid you have, what type of diet you're eating, even people who tend to eat more organic, raw, fresh fruits and vegetables tend to often have more parasites than people who don't. If you're outside, you take your shoes off, you do the grounding, you can pick up parasites. I mean, that's the reality of living a natural, healthy, life out and in tune with nature, but it's not always, if your internal environment isn't always able to fight these things off, and different situations can get you there. This is so important. Okay, another question, great questions today. What causes autoimmune disease? The leaky gut. So if you're just tuning in right now, we talked about leaky gut and also your circadian biology. When you're not getting enough natural sunlight, when you're not grounding, these things can cause that overall inflammation as well as the leptin resistance. So if you're new here and you don't know what leptin resistance is, oh wow, this is great behind the scenes. All right, thank you. So here's your leptin resistance, and this is all about the communication with your leptin signaling from your fat cells to your brain. It's a survival mechanism in terms of, do we need to find more food? Do we have enough body fat? Has a lot to do with our overall metabolism and inflammation in the body as well. So often this is what offsets your insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, cholesterol levels out of whack, chronic, autoimmune conditions as well, related back to leptin resistance. So please check out my other posts on leptin resistance. That will really help you to sort of fast forward a little bit to be able to do that. Shara Sings has a question. Yes, I'm sure my team is going to help you to answer that one. Thank you for sharing today's live. Hey, everybody who's here for the first time, I'm Dr. Janine. Great to have you here. Thank you for tuning in. Please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you are following so that you are always up on what I share. And of course, I share all things natural here at the Doctor Janine Show. Every Tuesday, if you're new here as well, Tuesdays is the actual show. Wednesdays is my live Q&A, and that's what you've tuned in today. So if you're new here, welcome on in. Now on Tuesdays we have fun because I ask quiz questions. Yesterday we played for the Vita Detox, the full body detox product from our great sponsors at VitaTree Nutritionals, Whole Food Vitamins. So we thank them for supporting myself and the show, and it's so great to have you all here today. I know that some new followers and Elirashicity. Did I say that right? You shared today's live. Thank you so much. I try so hard. Sammy River, thank you for the follow. Great to have you. Welcome on in. I am Dr. Janine, naturopathic doctor. Great to have you here. Okay, so talking about belly fat. Yes, so when we're talking about leptin resistance, let's go back over to the belly fat. This can be concerning, of course, if there's a lot of stress happening, of course, cortisol, belly fat, hormones changing. But if you've got leptin resistance, what I was talking about earlier, as that's related to autoimmunity and leaky gut, then those signals, so leptin is a hormone that's secreted by your fat cells, and it sends a signal up into the brain. Let's go over here really quickly. And that connection between your fat and your brain then has different mechanisms in terms of all of your hormones. And balancing that out and your leptin signaling is so important because your brain now is going to tell the rest of the body to either be more hungry, go get more food, or hey, you can ease up and you're not going to be as hungry. It's going to regulate, and your leptin is actually mostly secreted when you're sleeping. So this ties to your melatonin levels. I mean, it is this whole concert of things happen, but it really does tie back to inflammation as well. And there's something called interleukin 6, which has a very similar chemical structure to that leptin. And so you can imagine when you have that, and here, I think we have it here, and this is gonna mess up your CRP. So your highly sensitive CRP is a marker in your blood work that you can actually investigate in terms of having leptin resistance. If you have a lot of inflammation in the body, then this is part of what's happening with that leptin resistance, which I don't always talk about, because the leptin and the CRP can't now cross the blood-brain barrier. So now the body, the brain, is actually reading the fact that what's happening here, right? Do we have leptin or we don't have leptin? I mean, there's confusion happening. That's the leptin resistance. And this is why when leptin isn't read by the brain, even though the leptin is high, but the brain isn't getting the signal that there's a lot of leptin there, it's telling you to go out and what? Go and get more food. And this was me. And that's why I discovered this all for myself in doing a lot of research on hormones and balancing hormones and thyroid. And this ties back to your thyroid, because that leptin actually shuts down your thyroid. It increases your reverse T3, shuts down your thyroid. So this is a big problem for people that are trying to lose weight, especially that belly fat. Very difficult to target, but there are tricks, and that's what I share here. I talk a lot about belly fat. Of course, the castor oil pack is something that we've talked a lot about. If you're new here, you can check out my hack for belly fat and that castor oil pack and specific things that will do that. At the end of the day, though, you do really have to fix your leptin signaling, your overall inflammation, balance out your hormones, your cortisol levels, because that can relate back to something called pregnenolone steal, which is something else that I've talked about. So yeah, amazing, amazing that you've all tuned in. And I know that Jade here is saying, yeah, learning this. So just start to check out my content and on my different, you're on the platform that has the longer form videos. So start to listen and just learn. I mean, it's taken me years. I've been studying this quantum stuff for over 20, well, no, let me not age myself. It's closer to 30 years now. So it's something that, yeah, making these connections for how our body works, and really, that our internal environment has to be related and in cahoots with our external environment. And that's why we've become so detached from nature that we really have to reconnect again. And that's how you get healthy. That's how you have so much energy. You look younger than you are biologically, and it really is amazing. All right, thank you for everybody tuning in. And okay, Bella's asking about magnesium. For the best one that I love for anxiety, depression, low mood, is magnesium bisglycinate. Just make sure it doesn't have any of these fillers and flow agents. So that's a great question, especially magnesium stearate. So if you are purchasing supplements, you want to make sure that it doesn't have any fillers or flow agents. Microcrystalline cellulose is made from wood chips. They fill up the capsules with this. Magnesium stearate, again, a flow agent that they use just to speed up production times, because it makes the raw materials less sticky on the machinery, so that they can, have faster runs. But it's never been tested. So the magnesium stearate has never been tested to be deemed safe for long-term human consumption. It is a chemical, and it's in most supplements, and that's what is shocking to find out when you start to actually do this and look. And this is what I always do. It's funny when I go into a supplement store and I'm looking at the ingredients, I'm like, oh, no, like they're doing it all wrong. So you want to really start to really look at your labels really carefully. Bella is in the house. Thank you for tuning in. Hey, better late than never. Great to have you. Dr. KGLZ from Turkey. Nice to have you here. Thank you for tuning in today. It's so great to have you all here. Okay, questions coming in for Parkinson's. That's something that I would like to address. Maybe we can add that, because that's something that my grandmother actually had. And had I known, learning now, years and years later, I won't tell you again my age, but more than 40 years later, learning now that I could have helped her so much with Parkinson's based on all of the research that I've done on circadian biology, the sunlight exposure, your melanin levels. So let's talk about Parkinson's. I can't guarantee it's going to be a next week's show, but that's a great question. So please stay tuned for that, and I'll do some posts on that as well. I think that's a really important topic that I haven't yet talked about. So yeah, that's a great one. Hello, Stacy in Bedford, MA. Is that Massachusetts? I don't know. Give me a thumbs up. Am I right? Yes? Okay, good. I'm learning. And Michelle, Texas, yes, thank you for tuning in. I'm trying to learn all of the acronyms for all of the states. I'm getting better. Yolanda has a question about brands here, so I'm sure my team can help you with that. And I know that, okay, so there's a question from Lamont Paz about dairy. Yeah, so it depends on the type of dairy, and I have done some posts on dairy, and if you're sensitive to dairy, you're sensitive to dairy. Now you may be able to get some of the goodness out of dairy by taking like a whey protein isolate, so you're still getting the protein. If you're using it as if you like to drink glasses of milk, sometimes there isn't a way around it if you have a sensitivity and if it's aggravating your skin. Now, however, with chronic acne issues, I will say that doing that full body detox with some herbal medicines, something that we talked about, and we talked about some of the best herbal medicines yesterday. Well, I'll go through them really quickly for that full body detox, really important. And I recommend if you do have chronic skin issues, whether that's the eczema, the psoriasis, the acne, it's something that you're doing a full body detox. That really means often that your internal organs, that toxic load, think about it, the toxins want to come out. They want to come out of the body. So of course we poop, and I've got the poop platter over there. I can come to that in a second. We poop out our toxins. We pee out our toxins through the kidneys, of course. We breathe out our toxins through the lungs, but our skin is also a major detox organ. So often what I have found over the years, of course, and sort of becoming a specialist in detoxification for my patients, is that when these internal organs became overwhelmed with that toxic load, it would start to come out the skin. So you do that full body detox, and here's some of my favorite herbal medicines in combination. So they're all sort of in one capsule: dandelion, burdock, chlorella, milk thistle, horsetail, parsley, cascara, and bearberry. So that combination helping to cleanse out those internal organs. So your liver, your kidneys, your lungs, the blood, lymphatic system, the skin as well, helping to do that from the inside out, and lo and behold, what happens? The skin clears up. I often, too, with my patients, I always combine in the parasite cleansing protocol, and that was another set of herbs, and usually we start with the cabo, so with the cloves, artemisia, black walnuts, and oregano for chronic skin issues. Again, that could be the cystic acne, hormonal acne, it could be any type of acne, eczema, psoriasis. Starting with this, kill off the bad organisms, help to heal the gut a little bit, and then I go in with the full body detox after the first 2 weeks. So you start on the cabo for 2 weeks, and then you go to the other herbs that we talked about after that. I have a whole protocol, so it's something that my team can definitely point you in the right direction as to how to do the protocol. And I do often, suggest that you do the 2 weeks of the parasite cleansing with the cabo. Then you start after the 2 weeks. You're going to take a 2-week break from the cabo, and then you're going to these ones, okay? And once you start this, I like you to be on this for 2 months, minimum 2 months on the detox, the full body detox. Just get those toxins out. And it's amazing. I mean, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to balance your hormones, if you're clearing up your skin, if you're trying to get pregnant, I mean, this is amazing, okay? And it's my protocol, of course, that I developed years and years ago, and I absolutely love it. And thousands and thousands of people that have done it, they're like, oh my goodness, I never knew that detoxing was just that important. Especially think about all of our environmental toxins that we have, which is crazy. So thank you for tuning in. Today is our Q&A. Let me review really quickly what we can do for sunburn, something that we talked about yesterday. I know that question came in, and Vicky's saying, okay, looking forward to talking about Parkinson's. Yeah, I promise I'll do that in a future show. I don't know if it can happen this coming Tuesday or the week after, but I'll see what I can do for this coming Tuesday. Okay, so for sunburn, this is what we talked about yesterday, aloe jelly. So actually opening up the leaf of an aloe plant and applying the jelly. The problem with the commercial products that you're purchasing, they have other chemicals added in there. Usually it's not just the pure aloe, so that's kind of scary to me, all right? So you want to actually purchase the the actual plant and cut it open and use that inner jelly part. Chamomile tea, so you can brew a pot of chamomile tea, which is very soothing to a sunburn, and you just put a washcloth in there. You could put that in the fridge or the freezer for a couple minutes so it's nice and cool, and apply that to the sunburn, which is amazing, especially, of course, if you're not allergic. Some people are allergic to the chamomile family, so you don't want to use it if you're allergic, obviously. Another thing, which is baking soda. So putting about 3 tablespoons of baking soda into the bath water, tepid water, so not too hot, not too cold, and just relaxing in that can be very soothing. This is a great thing for kids. So just if they're, a little bit anxious about, the sunburn and they're not feeling comfortable, that you just do that and let them soothe. So the alkalinity of the baking soda can really help to counteract that heat feeling of a sunburn. Honey is great as well. And of course, a good unpasteurized local honey that grows close to you is really important. It is a natural antibiotic. So this is not for the blistering stage. So this is, if you have a moderate, not a severe sunburn that's actually blistering, you have to wait until after the blisters have sort of calmed down before you put the honey on. But that has a great antibiotic effect, very soothing to the skin. Witch hazel as well is a great astringent. So this is a natural astringent. And witch hazel is great for a number of things. A lot of people just use this as a toner for their skin, which is great. And the tannins, they have a bit of an antibiotic effect, so helping to balance the flora on the skin. But the witch hazel has those tannins, which are astringent, which really helps to sort of tighten up pores and things, but is very cooling to a sunburn as well. And of course, drinking lots of water is going to be really important, because your skin, when you're sunburned, all of that water in your body comes up to the skin surface to try to minimize and is dealing with that inflammation there. So this is something that, you can, if you've ever had sunstroke before, put a big sun in the comments if you've ever had sunstroke before. I have a couple times, and it is not good. So it is something that you definitely want to make sure that you are staying super hydrated with water, okay, with water, not alcohol, all right? Alcohol is dehydrating. Because people get away, carried away when you're on a hot, sunny vacation, maybe, and maybe you've had a few too many. That's even more dehydrated, and that's, how you can definitely make your sunburn worse, but causing more inflammation, but also, of course, the sunstroke. So drink lots of water. And watermelon. Now, watermelon is interesting. It is one of my preventatives for getting a sunburn because it has lycopene, and lycopene is in tomatoes as well, helps with that redness, the color. And it is a great antioxidant, but helps with that sunburn. Of course, because watermelon has a lot of water, so very soothing when you're ingesting it. I'm not saying we joked about it yesterday, I'm not saying to rub watermelon on your skin. I'm saying ingest the watermelon, drink lots of water, and that is going to be fantastic for your sunburn. Okay, there you go. Okay, Bella, you apply peppermint oil with coconut oil. That's a great idea as well, because peppermint oil has a very cooling effect to the skin. Love that. Amazing. And Bella, okay, you suffer easily from heat stroke, so you have to be super careful, super careful. Now remember, seek shade when you can. Try not to wear the sunglasses, which is it messes up your brain. Remember, if you're wearing sunglasses on a sunny day, and I'm not saying that you don't ever, that's a double negative. I'm not saying that you shouldn't at all times not wear sunglasses, but when you are wearing sunglasses, remember, it's sending a signal to your brain that it's shady and cloudy outside, that you don't need as much sun protection on your skin. So your brain and your whole mechanisms for sweating and cooling yourself off will not work properly if you're wearing sunglasses. So you have to be really aware of that. Now, if you're on a bright surface, of course, you're going to put them on. If you've got glaring sun in your eyes, you're going to do that. But that's important. All right. So thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. It's so great to have you. Make sure that you are following, that you are subscribed. Be sure to tune in on Tuesday for the Doctor Janine Show. So if you're new here, please, I want you to tune in on Tuesday. That show is at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Doctor Janine Show. And in our next show, we're going to be talking about a special type of water in our body, which is so important, as well as cold adaptation, cold exposure. Yes, winter for a lot of us is around the corner, so I want to give you some tips as to how you can charge up your own batteries, your mitochondrial health for longevity. And I'm going to do my best to talk about Parkinson's in the next episode on Tuesday as well, okay? Because I know that there's a lot of people that want more information. And whether you know someone who has Parkinson's, whether you have it, or just from a preventative standpoint, this is super, super important that I'm going to share some great information there, okay? So make sure you tune in on Tuesday. Thank you, everybody who tuned in, and I encourage you to check out all of my other posts. It was great to have you here today, and we'll see you very soon. Have a great day. Bye.